The great flexing of 2020 is finally upon us. I don't know if you were all prepared, but I know I certainly wasn't. And given my proclivity for enjoying the trashier moments of shonen and isekai, you know the stuff, where an absolute badass dominates a fight for a few seconds. Oh yeah, that's my crack. Inject that shit right into my veins because I live for those dumb moments knowing full well they're destroying what few brain cells I have left. So I was bound to have something to say when it came to looking at today's show. But whether that something was positive or negative remains to be seen. Sorry, I'm not blowing my metaphorical load early this time. You'll have to keep watching to see my thoughts on whether you should check out Maogaku no Futeki Gosha, or for those not desperate enough to take Japanese in college, the Misfit of Demon King Academy. The basic premise here is once upon a time, gods, humans, spirits, and demons were all at war. Well, not all at war, implying with one another. Gods, humans, and spirits were fighting against demons, since they were clearly evil and out to subjugate the other races, as they often do in these sort of settings. But where most fantasy stories like to focus on the hero's struggle against the demons, by defeating the king and bringing peace to the world, Maogakuin shows the aftermath of such a war, where the legendary demon king, heroes, gods, and spirits all fucked off to their own domains, and now their kingdoms are living relatively normal lives. The idea of the aforementioned Demon King Academy is selecting the resurrected Demon King after he sacrificed himself 2,000 years before and is reborn at the prophesized date. So enter the Chaddest Chad to ever grace this pathetic world with his Chadness, Anos. He's a cocksure guy going about rebuilding his life after resurrecting, in a fun sort of way, as he's pretty amused by the modern world. But his race is far weaker than when he was running amok, literally killing some of his fellow demons with a snap of his finger and the sheer power of his heartbeat. Goddamn, talk about a flex. He has 2 girls with him, Sasha and Misha, powerful demon sisters from a noble family that fit tropes a bit too neatly for my tastes. One's a blatant tsundere and the other's a dull kudere, with not much setting them apart from that. They follow Anos because he's strong and nice to them. Like good stereotypical waifu eye candy should, I guess. Going into this, it'd be expected this series is about a guy finding out that he's the Demon King resurrected. Like, slowly regaining his powers and memories through the course of the show, right? Thus creating a natural power creep with an escalating plot, perhaps about no one trusting his amazing power and needing to prove himself. But fuck all that, because what you'd expect is basically the plot of any other action series, and this one wants to have its cake and eat it too. It takes the worst parts of shonen and isekai, the immense badass not fit for this world, and combining it with the uphill struggles of proving himself and gaining followers, but somehow turns them into a working formula. By treating these elements as a given, it opens it up more to being about the characters and why they are the way they are, rather than them being demons who just want to destroy the world, or whatever. This bro popped out of the womb fully conscious of who he was, and having the same immense power he did in his prime. That's slightly subversive. Funny to boot, honestly. With all that in mind, obviously the world would bow down to his authority, right? Well, no. It's a bit more complicated, as no one believes him, his memory doesn't exactly align with history, and most are in shock over his sheer strength that he's just alienated. And with that, the series secures a reason for me to give a shit. It's hard to pin down an exact genre here. Is it a comedy? Is it an action/fantasy? Is it a parody? Well, it's kind of all those things, as it takes its setting, story, and conflict seriously, but the power scale makes the fights laughably low stakes. Enemies aren't just defeated, but their strongest moves are flicked away while Anos gives a smug smirk. Normally I'd crap all over stuff like that, but here it's not bad, since it plays into and is sort of the whole point that this dude is super powerful. He is, historically, the strongest Demon King and the predecessor to their entire race, and if the series only went that far, it would probably be boring. But it adds depth through climbing the social ladder and figuring out why no one recognizes him. That's perfect, since it has mystery elements and a goal for the protagonist. So it's not just pure action fluff. If you're worried about this not having any narrative weight, there's something to sink your teeth into while it pumps pure dopamine into your veins. Trust me, I get how stupid that sounds. If you're watching an action show, you tend to want a sort of stakes in that action. The main character getting kicked around for a fight, training, unleashing a new move, or a new strategy, like exploiting a weakness to give an arc to follow, right? Who wouldn't want that, since the struggle gives the payoff more meaning for the audience by building investment in the conflict in the first place? It's part of why seeing Goku go Super Saiyan for the first time feels so satisfying. If the fights lack that struggle, then surely they're boring. But I feel the fights show less of an uphill battle, and more about who Anos is as a person, his philosophy, and why he does what he does. Rather than them being the point, they're telling a story. Animation isn't clear-cut either. I think the models, setting, and color choices are all decently done. Elements are striking in contrast while still managing cohesion. The studio behind this one, Silver Link, has a track record of decent-looking shows, with Kokoro Connect, and Ao-chan Can't Study, and a few others that generally look nice. Really, nothing in this series is flat-out unattractive to look at. Character models are cute and cool-looking. Buildings have some thoughts placed into them besides castle or house, to build personality and the world. But how things move can be a mixed bag is where my issue comes up. Some of the framing is genuinely interesting, but actions can be sluggish or just stiff. Meaning you can tell there's not a lot of flexibility in the models when they're doing things like throwing something, for instance. I'm not sure if that was just bad animators or the studio refusing to let things go off model, but there's also fights that are well done too, showing that at least some effort was put in to make it look nice besides just on the surface. You know what this series could have done without? The harem shit. The two main girls are clearly eye candy for the audience using the obvious kudere and tsundere mold. A flat-chested, self-important tsundere who starts off antagonistic towards Anos, and her reserved sister who's always looking out for her and loves her to a fault, but likes Anos because he was nice to her? Yeah, seen it a million times. Misha and Sasha's personalities are the product of their environment, sure, but it still feels like more could have been done to make them stand out. Ecchi feels forced when it's in situations like this, since it's just there to showcase the girl's body, rather than tell me anything about the story. And look, I don't necessarily think that's bad, but it's distracting, especially when the series focuses on it. Fanservice is just that, fanservice. If you like it, more power to you. But stuff like this makes it harder to recommend to people not interested in naked girls on screen. Overall, there's a lot to like in this show. It's not amazing like anime of the season material or anything, but it's fun. And for that, it's fitting that junk food niche for me. If you like sheer bloody beatdowns that can sometimes look pretty damn good, a cocky protagonist flexing his power over anyone who thinks they can stand up to him, and some cute girls, all while uncovering a decent mystery story in a bit more complex of a fantasy world than we're used to, I'd say give this a shot. As for me, I'm liking it so far, so it has my recommendation, if at the very least, because I enjoy a good curb stomp. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and do all the other YouTube stuff to help the channel grow. You can also join my Discord with a link down in the description. And if you really want to support me, you can head on over to my Patreon to pick up some extra perks like voting on what I do next. Thanks for watching.